What is happening, YouTube? Cowboy here. Welcome back to Dark Souls Remastered, and this is my first build, the Abyssal Sorcerer. Now, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of dark magic. Obviously did the Dark Souls 2 walkthrough with a Hex build, tried to make a dark magic build in 3 for a while, but the damage just wasn't quite there. And in Dark Souls 1, it's the opposite. The damage is more than there. It's borderline, like, completely broken, cancerous. But yeah. So this build is capable of 2 to 3 shotting most bosses in the game. You'll either 1-shot or 2-shot most players that you encounter. Just about every enemy in the game, you'll kill in 1 hit. It's very, very potent. It doesn't have as much defense as other builds, but you know, the big thing here is this build brings the damage, and when you kill people in under a second, it doesn't matter how much survivability you got. So before anyone bitches at me for bringing cancer to the game, like many people did with Dark Souls 2, remember this game has been out for like 7 years. All I did was take the cancer, package it up into an adorable little sorceress, and release it to the public. But all of this is well-known information. Either way, let's jump into the build. So we are soul level 125. Now in general, making a build for Dark Souls 1, you want to try to hang right around 120. Being a little bit below or a little bit over isn't going to be the end of the world, so 125 is just fine. Vitality was our main dump stat here, getting that up to 42. A 2-minute 19, giving us 5 casts. Endurance at 31, which was the breakpoint to ensure we have medium rolls. That's right. We only have mid rolls here because of some of the items that we have on. We would be unable to get fast rolls. Strength up to 40 for some reasons I'll explain later. Dexterity, resistance, and faith all left at base, and intelligence up to 45. Now looking at the gear, we have a large club plus 15, as well as a moonlight butterfly horn plus 5. In our offhand, we have a Manus Catalyst and a Dark Ham, and then for our gear, we have Crown of Dusk, Witch Cloak plus 5, Iron Bracelet, Waistcloth of the Channelers, Bellowing Dragon Crest Ring, and then the Wolf Ring. As for our spell selection, we have Pursuers, Dark Fog, Dark Bead, and Dark Orb. Now to go more in depth into everything, looking at our gear, the first thing I want to point out is going strength. Now obviously most people tend to go dexterity when they're making a caster, and that's because in Dark Souls 1, dex is what impacts your casting speed. However, I really wanted strength here because of the Manus Catalyst, which gets a B scaling in strength, and that scaling damage actually goes into effect when you're using dark sorceries. If I'm using Crystal Soul Spear, I won't see that increase, but if I'm using anything that's considered a dark sorcery, basically the abilities we have on, you will see it in a very significant way. Just to put things in perspective, between the Manus Catalyst and the Logan's Catalyst, going up against a Gravelord Nito on New Game Plus, having someone like summon me in as a phantom, I was able to hit for around 1600 damage with the Manus Catalyst using Dark Bead, whereas using Logan's Catalyst, I was only hitting around 1100. So pretty significant damage increase right there. And given this is going to change based on what you're up against and the defenses of your target, but you know, that's a 45% increase in the damage potential, which makes sense because Manus does cut the amount of casts you have in half. So yeah, basically going up to 40 strength is going to ensure that when we want to use Manus Catalyst, it's going to hit like a truck, and basically a Dark Bead from a 40 strength, 40 intelligence Manus Catalyst is going to one-shot just about anybody in the game. We do have Logan's Catalyst as a backup, mainly because with it not cutting our casts in half, it makes it a lot more desirable for PvE type content, you know, going through the level. We want to have more casts, obviously. And in addition to that, if you're up against a gang squad, I like to switch up to Logan's Catalyst. That way I have 3 Pursuers, I have 6 beads, as opposed to 1 Pursuer, 3 beads, and whatnot. As for our other stuff, a large club plus 15, really just, you know, this is... You know, speak softly, carry a big stick. It's a big bitch be good stick. It does a lot of damage, you know, 615 raw damage. This thing has a very nice R2, which is great to kind of roll catch. You do that in combination with the Pursuers, and you'll see that in the PvP portion of the video. Basically, I'll do that. That'll boop somebody. Pursuers connects. I can follow up with a Dark Bead, but usually this kind of triggers the one-shot. On top of that, if you're ever up against the target where magic's not going to work, something like, say, Calamite, for example, switch into a plus 15 large club, and you will just beat the shit out of that big old black dragon with no regard for its magic or fire resistances. You just won't care because you got a big old stick. So it's definitely a little bit unexpected of a sorcerer type character, but it does help out immensely, especially in situations where stuff is magic resistant. Moving on from there, we have the Moonlight Butterfly Horn. Now, this is just a quick backup weapon to swap to. You know, nice long range on this, good for pokes. On top of that, as you'll notice looking at it, it's also pure magic damage, which is really nice because there's not many shields in the game that are going to be able to shut this down. So if you need something quick to finish somebody off when they're low, the Moonlight Butterfly Horn definitely gets the job done. As for our other offhand, we of course have the Dark Hand. Not going to really be using this to block. It does have a split resistance 80 across the board, but the stability is low enough that using this to block will really blow through your stamina. This is really just here as a quick parry tool because it only costs half a unit. And on top of that, you know, Dark Hand, Dark Build, kind of fit in with the theme I was going for. Going more in depth into the armor, the Crown of Dusk here because it adds a damage boosting effect onto our dark sorceries. As you can see, raises the power and effect of the wearer's magic. You will also take increased magic damage, but that doesn't matter because anything you're fighting is going to be dead before it can hit you. Moving on from there, Witch Cloak, which we got from Beatrice, mainly just there for fashion choice. The Iron Bracelets because they will go under the Witch Cloak without raising the wrists up, and they have 7 poise. Just to show, you know, with anything else, you can see how the sleeves kind of get rolled up, and it was really kind of killing my fashion vibe. So the Iron Bracelet gave us an option to just get a little bit of poise in there while still keeping the sleeves down. Waistcloth of the Channelers, same thing. A little bit of poise on these, but most importantly, they fit in very nicely with the fashion that we have going on. And that's a big thing. You guys know for me, when it comes to making a build, I need to have some top-tier fashion. And I think this looks really good. Moving on to our rings choices here. Bellowing Dragon Crest, pretty straightforward. It's just going to boost our magic damage. And then the Wolf Ring, just to give us a little bit more poise between the Wolf Ring, Channelers, and the Iron Bracelet. We're up to 54 poise, which is enough that we can usually tank one hit and get out that Dark Bead that's intended to one-shot an enemy. And that's going to be about it for the build, you know. We have a nice strength base to fall back on when magic isn't getting the job done. We have very, very potent casts, and we have a lot of things going on amplifying our damage, namely the strength scaling with Mana's Catalyst, Crown of Dusk, and Bellowing Dragon Crest Ring. So to go into kind of a spell coverage real fast, the main way to run this build would be get your Pursuers up first. Moving on from there, I'll usually Dark Fog, and Dark Fog isn't so much for damage as it is just zone control. For example, putting Dark Fog right here, you can say it basically blocks up that entire entrance, making it so your targets can't see. And then all you really have to do is go in with that R2. That's going to hit him. The Pursuers are going to follow things up and take the target down from there. Moving on from there, Dark Bead is going to be your main damage dealer. Like I said, for the most part, it's going to deal somewhere between 1100 and 1400 damage. It's basically your I need to kill this guy now move. And then we have Dark Orb purely for a PvE type thing. As you can see against something like this, you know, you can see right there, just the Dark Orbs and the Pursuers basically clean that guy up. You know, Pursuers in particular, you know, even against, like, take this thing for example. You know, and you're not going to really use Pursuers all that much in PvE, but Archers are one of the things I find them great against, just because I can just run towards the Archer rolling, and the Pursuers are going to kill the target while I'm making my way over to it. As I mentioned, the Dark Bead being your big damage, all you need to do is basically, like, get behind a target. Well, this guy has the big shield, but yeah, as you can see, that one-shot him. And as you guys know, these giants, they're pretty beefy, you know. So, all in all, I feel that when you put all this together, you have a build that is both very potent from a PvE perspective. It's very much a boss killer with a lot of damage supporting it. But on top of that, it's also very, very obnoxious to deal with in PvE, or excuse me, PvP, just because, you know, if you even have a 5-second window where you're not getting attacked, somebody is going to be dead. So, you know, works well against gang squads, works well in invasions, works well in holding your own. So, either way, I'm going to have a couple more builds coming your way. Aside from this one, I'm also in the process of making my Pyromancer right now. You guys might have seen the preview video for that. But either way, let's get the music started and show you guys what this thing is capable of.
Tell me I continue to crawl.